hearing.
You guys got ahead of me.
Oh, okay. So, we have a ordinance, and so, I declare a public hearing and asking anyone that wishes to speak to, even though nobody's here, I still have to do this, right? Yeah, okay. Please clearly give your name and address and spell your last name prior to giving a statement. Please direct all questions and statements to the manager. Dialogue among members of the audience is considered out of order. We request that those in support speak first, and then the opposing will have an opportunity to speak. So that's all I have to read, Joan, because that's the yellow, everything in the yellow. Okay.
Okay.
So let's go ahead with ordinance 2401, amending Title IX.
So just go over that again. This changes our classification definitions, specifically for RV parks and mobile home parks, to try to match it more closely to how regional rates and SDCs were set. So under this ordinance, mobile home park would be considered the same classification as multi-family units. And so the building rate would be based on that, which is a flat fee for us. And RV parks would have a flat rate for the space and a consumption rate on top of that. And flat rate is much lower. So for most of the parks that we have, we're going to see actually a decrease in and this kind of cleans up some of the messes that we discovered some when we got into Gold Hill. And then once we got deeper into that, we found one actually on our system that was really being built incorrectly. So we've got that. I did send letters to all of the parks that are affected. I got 2 calls, one from the one that's being built incorrectly. It's going to see a big increase. And they told us that the count that we had for number of spaces was incorrect. So we'll adjust that to make that correct. And then another person that had a small 6-unit RV park on her property and was just confused. She thought that we were going to require them to put a meter on her well. And I explained through that. So I don't know if she ended up understanding or not, but she's going to see a decrease there. So it's, anyway, that's the main change there. We do have a couple of minor changes also about how we do monthly averaging. Our code used to be, it said we do monthly averaging for schools, churches, and hospitals, and we broadened that and basically said that anybody that has flows in the summer that are double in winter, and that's attributable exclusively to irrigation, that we can do that. So kind of it loosens it up a little bit. We actually, for some reason, we monthly averaged Central Point City Hall, and even though I don't know why it wasn't part of our definitions. Like, well, let's just fix that because it's pretty clear that it's an irrigation issue, not a whole bunch more people working there somewhere. So those are the changes. We did in the ordinance declare that an emergency because we need to have that go into effect on July 1st to marry up with our changes. So that is our explanation.
Anyone have any questions? That's when I say hearing no further comments or questions regarding this matter, I declare the public hearing closed. And now I need a motion, please.
I move to adopt ordinance number 24-01 as written.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Peterson,
Yes.
McPherson,
Yes.
Strongly.
Yes.
So, do I need to read it a second time? Okay. Public. So, and then that will be for all the resolutions, right? The public,
No.
or just that particular one because it's the budget?
Correct.
Okay, got it. Okay, the public hearing is open. Ask Anyone that is wishing to speak, please clearly give your name and address, spelling your last name prior to giving a statement. Please direct all questions and statements to the manager. Dialogue among members of the audience is considered out of order. We request that those in support speak first, and then those opposed will have an opportunity to speak. Resolution 2407, adoption of the budget.
That goes to Brenda.
Oh,
The
Brenda, sorry.
budget was approved by the budget committee.
Yeah, it was approved, so now we just need the formal adoption from the board for the fiscal year 25 budget.
Anyone have any questions or anything on that? We've pretty much gone over it. Okay, hearing no further questions or comments or questions regarding this matter, I declare the public hearing closed. And I'm looking for a motion for resolution 2407.
I'll move to approve resolution 2407, adoption of the fiscal year 2025 budget and making appropriations as presented.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Kay Harrison,
Yes.
McPherson,
Yes.
Junk,
Yes.
All right, now we're going to resolution 2408.
So, yeah, we got a whole bunch of these end of year resolutions, so I'm gonna go through fairly quickly, but I don't wanna rush them, so slow me down if you've got questions on that.
Okay.
I'll try to explain them as quickly as I can. The first one is our overhead rate billing rates. And this is how we do part of our cost accounting. When we have labor that we put towards a project, this is how we figure out the cost of the project. For the labor, it's, we run a spreadsheet every year that calculates the wages, benefits, and we built our overhead into that number. So that's what those numbers are there. And we round them to make them nice. Otherwise, they're odd numbers. On the vehicles and equipment, what we have listed there where it says internal hourly rate, that's what we charge when we're working on projects of our own that we're building into internal stuff. And that's basically the cost of the equipment. The external rate is what we charge to other people if they're needing to use our services. The reason we do that is because our overall cost is way below what market value is. So if somebody wanted to rent a flushing truck, for instance, they're gonna spend $200 or so an hour to rent that flushing truck. We don't want to be in a position where someone thinks that they can hire us to do work much cheaper than if they can rent the equipment. So like if, and this happened, like ODOT will call us and say, hey, we need some culverts, TV, can you do it? And we'll do it for them. We charge that external rate. And a lot of other cities will do that for us. Sometimes where we have repair work, like we're dealing with one right now where gas company bored through a service line. They do stuff like that occasionally. And we have to go out and fix it, we charge them the external rate. So that's where that difference comes in. And then we use this when we're doing like reimbursement work, like with FEMA when they were down, or when we're putting in claims for the projects that we have loans on. We use the internal stuff because that's our own cost on that. So anyway, that's that explanation.
Okie dokie. And can we go ahead and make a motion to do that?
Yep.
And go to the next one?
Yep.
Okay. I need a motion for resolution 2408.
I have a couple questions for
Oh,
Carl.
go ahead. This
So-
works.
Carl, the internal hourly rate for personnel, the first box, there's no external rate.
Right.
How does that work? I just don't understand. Could you help me?
Why we do it for one and not the other?
No, I just whatever explanation you think I
So-
need, like to hear.
So the internal, the rate for labor, that's basically the cost of our labor. And the way we do our overhead is built into that hourly rate. So when Brenda calculates the overhead, she takes all the overhead expenses, building material, all that kind of stuff, and we divide that into the total hours worked. So for instance, where it says, the very first one, development specialist. So that's $70.
Roger, sure.
So, so that dollar, way that's calculated, that's their wages, that's their benefits, insurance costs, all that, and then the overhead rate on top of that.
Oh, Carl, the 964 would be on top of
Yeah.
it.
So that is-
Okay, you see,
Oh.
I just don't understand it yet. I'm listening.
Okay, so like when Nick charges his time to a job, right?
Oh,
The rate that we have in there covers the full cost of employing Nick,
Got it.
plus the share of our overhead expenses. So
Okay.
since we're building our overhead in on top of that, I think that's why we keep that as a single rate for everything, whereas the equipment, that's where we're basically trying not to compete with the private sector on that, by charging a higher rate that, private contractors would have to charge for.
So we're charging labor at cost and
Yes.
materials not at cost. Why are we charging labor at cost? I mean, I think Nick's cheap at twice the price, frankly.
I mean,
And very cheap,
last year.
and really cheap at 3 times.
Yeah. That's good, I mean.
it's the ham thing all
It's the
over
ham
again.
thing. We always got our hand on both sides.
I mean, I don't know what these services go for if you hired someone to do a project. I mean, I should think it would be a great deal more than this.
If you hired an engineer to design a project, it would be much higher.
So I just don't know why we're only charging a cost if we're doing work for other entities. I mean, maybe they give us only a
Yeah.
cost and that's a good exchange. I don't know. But is there a reason or is it ham?
I think it's him.
Well, we like money. So
Yeah.
maybe we should think about
We
it.
don't, we don't charge out a whole lot of stuff externally, but we could put like an extra, if, I don't know if it would be worth going 3 times what we did, like we do with the equipment, but, that'd be a little steep. Yeah. Yeah, so, okay, I mean, I'll just focus on Nick because I've been paying engineering fees lately. But like with Metro Tech, that's our consultant for doing the Gold Hill project. I mean, they're a professional engineer, they're charging, over 200. So there is, but, potentially we could do that. I guess it's never come up before because we really don't do a whole lot.
How much would you say a year do we end up billing out labor costs like this?
It was a year, but not much.
10,000, 20,000, 30, 40?
It would be maybe an average, maybe somewhere in that range.
I think it would be more for like the collection workers that
Yeah.
are going out and doing repairs. So we have what we call them R numbers, repair orders. So like this one Carl was talking about where, we have this week board through the lines, right? We track all of our time, all of our equipment, and it gets billed out at the equipment external rate and then this internal hourly rate. But we'll have one of those, maybe 1 or 2 of those a year, and they end up being on the order of a couple $1,000.
Not the labor, but in total.
Yeah,
Totally, yeah, the total cost of the whole repair. So it's
It's actually, John brings up a really good question, and maybe we should figure out if the ham's justified or not.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think most of the time we do it for other public entities.
That's, yeah,
And so I see that it's cool the way we've got it now. Because it's like,
yeah, we don't want to gouge people, but at the same time,
Exactly.
we don't want to subsidize other people either.
Well, I mean, what if another entity, we needed service from them for one of our projects? Maybe we did an oops of some kind and needed fixed.
Yeah.
Maybe we hurt the gas line or something, I don't
Yeah.
know. I guess it could happen,
I think,
but what would they charge us at?
That's a good question. I can look into that.
If the ham is for everyone, then I get that, and that's cool because we get the benefit too.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if we've ever been billed by a city for any kind of labor stuff.
Well, we don't want to inspire them to do so,
yeah,
No.
certainly not for $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 a year.
I think the PR sometimes is almost worth it too. Just that, you know, the goodwill between entities, you know. If it got to be a pain and the hand got burnt,
Yeah,
then we don't do it.
This is more than one person slicing the ham.
Well, if it's not
Okay.
that much money and we're buying something for it that costs that amount of money with respect to goodwill and them being either not charging us or being very fair with us, that's value. If we're just giving them something for not below market for nothing, that makes less sense.
right.
I'm not necessarily trying to make your life difficult, I know we can pass this, but it just kind of, I didn't understand it, so I wanted to understand it.
Okay, well, so what questions do you want answered? I mean, it's gonna take, I can come back next month and do we wanna know like how much we actually bill out to whom?
Probably, yeah,
Okay,
to give us an idea of if it makes sense to check into it or to just go ahead and leave it the way it is.
I mean, if it's $30,000, a lot of goodwill is worth that.
yeah,
$50,000, or we're not getting any goodwill because we don't see those people again. It's just one project,
yeah,
maybe. At some point, it becomes a gift of public funds. We're
right,
breaking even, so it's not, but at some point,
yeah, we can, yeah,
I think you're gonna see it on the ODOT projects for our relocations that are reimbursable.
but if they also do cool things for us, we have to put that into our,
yeah.
not hard number equation, kind of soft number thinking.
Yeah, there, I mean, yeah, when you, and especially when you're dealing, you know, you're all dealing with public money. Yeah, when in a really, really big picture,
Yeah.
you know, it's all coming from the same sources.
Right.
Okay, any other questions?
I don't understand the 1564, Carl, in the first page. That's general overhead?
Yes,
It's not
okay,
the hourly rates of labor or the hourly rates of equipment, it's something else? What
that,
is it? What is it?
that is 1564.
It's in one of the main paragraphs, like, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 down.
There it is, okay.
Back up the page.
Okay, so that is,
No, they're-
so in, when we charge labor, go back, it's the actual wages, it's the benefits, health insurance, social security, all that, and then we add $15, and that's where those numbers in the back come from. That 1564, Brenda's trying to correct me.
No, you're going, keep going.
Okay, that 1564, if we as an organization work 60,000 hours, which is about what we work, times 1564, that is our overhead expense. That covers our electricity, that covers our paper supplies, our internet service, all of that stuff.
So Carl's, so Nick is really 8564, not,
Yeah, so, and that's the way we've been, we changed it. What a lot of cities will do is they'll just put a flat percent on all expenses. And, which is fine to a point, but then you get a, $5 million project, all of a sudden, it's this huge amount, and then it stops making sense. So we kind of made a change, and let's just attach it to the labor, because that's, seems like an easy way to attach it. It's not, it isn't gonna be the crazy number.
that's attached to the labor and the equipment, or just
Just,
labor?
just labor,
So it's not very much money at all, then it's a lot of that.
right? True, yeah. But that puts the overhead, like, when we determine the cost of a project, like, when we start talking about FTEs, a lot of FTEs are based on how much you actually spent on a project. So if we do a project ourselves, Nick does the design work and we contract it out. All of Nick's design work, that 1564 is going to be attached to all of Nick's work, all of, the survey work we do, all the inspections and all that. So that appropriately puts the cost of our overhead into that project. So that's one place where it makes a lot of sense there. It's not that we're necessarily trying to add another source of income to cover overhead expenses. It's just we're trying to properly allocate, how we charge our overhead costs.
So if you're gonna look into the labor rates and having two sets, do you need a motion from us to continue consideration? We need to vote as to whether we want to consider it as written or think about it some more?
So I guess we can do a couple of things. We could approve the resolution, so we'll have this in place July 1st as it's written. And then you direct me to come back with some analysis on proper labor rates. That would be my recommendation. We could table this until next month, until I come back with that analysis.
If-
Do it all at once.
I would kind of go with what you said. If we find that we should make an adjustment, we can always do an adjustment to it. And
Yeah, and I think the adjustment would be that we would be adding an external rate to the labor. I don't think
Right.
we would be wanting to change the internal rate.
Agreed. Or nothing. We should at least know.
it could
Yeah.
just stand.
Mhm.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 24-08 as written.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Kate Harrison,
Yes.
Mike Parsons,
Yes.
John Glenn.
Yes.
We're back on this one?
Yeah, Roger's here now.
Oh, Roger's on.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
So quiet him.
All right, I spent a long time watching a train go back and forth
Oh.
at Sage. I mean, it was really funny. I thought it was gonna be no big deal. Like the train's going across the tracks, right? So I'm waiting. Well, they stop. So when he gets across the tracks, backs up, doesn't quite back up far enough to open the gates and pulls forward. And I did that exercise a few times, so.
All right. Okay, so Roger got to vote. And
Okay,
that's passed, and now we're on to resolution 2409.
okay, this is our compensation plan, and these wage scales include the 3.1% cost of living adjustment that was approved by the budget committee.
Okay, anyone have questions?
So the final wage is what you can build up to as you.
Yeah,
stay longer?
typically, it takes about 5 years to get to the top of the scale.
All right. Looking for a motion, guys.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2409, employee compensation plan as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Kate Harrison,
Yes.
Roger Jones,
Yes.
Mike Parsons.
Yes.
John Glenn.
Yes. This doesn't affect my vote, but the certification incentives don't seem like that much money. And yet the certificates are beautiful things, aren't
Let's
they? I'm not
So-
challenging anything. I voted yes, but we like
So-
education, don't we?
Right, so, but with the collection system operators and treatment operators, they can actually, when they get their level 2, they move from operator 1 to operator 2. So there's a substantial wage increase based on that. It's just, once they get their level 3, we restrict it a little bit because to be considered operator level 3, you have to have some kind of supervisory responsibility. So that's our crew leads and positions like that. So we've got a couple of people that have 3 or collections 3 or 4, but they're not supervisors. So that's where that extra 2% comes in.
All right, moving forward to resolution 2410.
Okay, this is our rate structure. So for our core rate, we are increasing the single family rate from $25.50 to $27. And then everything else is increased by that same proportion. And Shady Cove, the rate is increasing from $50 to $51.50, and then everything else proportional. In Eagle Point, there's no change, and that's because our annexation agreement, we agreed to maintain their rates for at least 2 years. The only other change,
Gold Hill.
Cove Hill, what did I say?
Eagle Point.
Yeah,
Cove Hill, sorry.
yeah, that's what I was wondering. Yes, Can I hear?
And then the other change, when we talked about with the ordinance is for the multiple dwellings, you'll see under Schedule C, that now includes mobile home parks, and Schedule B is the RV parks. So the rate that, the rate's gonna be $9.73 per space plus the gallonage rate for an RV park, whereas before it was a flat rate of $22 or something like that. So like I said, for most of them, they're going to see somewhat of a decrease in their actual rates, but more importantly, they're actually contributing to the system.
Okay, questions? Look for a motion for resolution 2410.
I move to adopt resolution 2410 as written.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Harrison,
Yes.
Roger Tom,
Yes.
Mike Parsons,
Yes.
John Platt.
Okay, resolution has passed. Now, resolution 2411, capital improvement.
Okay, this was the capital improvement plan that was used as the basis of our budget, and it's also going to be used as the basis for our SDC review. This is, we update this every year. That's part of our budget. There's one error on the,
Yeah, the 52403.
the one that you're going to sign is the right date. I can't remember what the date of it is, but it's.
5/30/24.
Yeah, okay. So, again, so one of the things with the SDC rules is you have to have an approved capital improvement plan to calculate your SDC. So we do this to have our approved capital improvement plan.
Any questions?
I seem to have 24, 11, and 12 missing from my printed from home.
Uh-oh. You need 11 and 12?
I've got 15. I have all the ones between 11 and between 10 and 15 are missing. So my printer is pulling a boo-boo again, which is time for a new printer.
So this is 11 and then.
Okay. Okay, you looking for a motion? Or discussion?
Discussion and then motion,
I have nothing to say.
yeah. Okay,
Don't look at me.
okay, the motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2411, capital improvement plans for all areas.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Harrison,
Yes.
Roger Tom,
Yes.
Mike Parsons,
Yes,
John Platt.
Yes.
I found it. It's called 24XX in my printer.
Did forget to change the number until today, but on the real one that you'll
Right.
see.
Okay. 2412 is rates for system development charges. So the methodology that we adopted back it was 3 years ago, 2021. The way we calculate STCs is there's two parts to it. There's what's called a reimbursement fee and an improvement fee. The reimbursement fee is based on the amount of money that we as an organization have spent on capital improvements for a particular system. You take that dollar amount and you divide it by the number of equivalent residential units you have in that system, and that gives you the number that you can charge for reimbursement. So, for instance, if you look on I'll look at that under the collection system. In our history, we've spent just under $44 million on capital. We have 39,000-ish residential units attached to it. And so you divide those two numbers and you get a reimbursement fee of a little over $1,000 per residence. So that's on the reimbursement side. And we do that for all the different systems that we have SDCs on. So that's our collection system, our White City trunk, our Eagle Point trunk, and the regional data center. The other part of it is the improvement fee. The improvement fee, that's where you need your capital improvement plan. And you take the value of projects that you plan to build and you assign a surplus capacity to those. So if you're just like doing improvements that don't increase your capacity, that doesn't factor into anything because you can have surplus capacity built into it. But if you're upsizing a pipe or improving a pipe and increasing the capacity, then the percentage by which you're increasing it goes into the calculation. And you take your value of your surplus capacity, and you divide it by how much growth you expect over the time period that you set. I think we used 10 years on that. And that gives you what your improvement fee is. And this is where it gets kind of weird because Jackson County's growth is really slow, believe it or not. And so the amount of growth that we use in our calculations, we take 5 years average growth rate for the county and we project that out to the future. We're getting small numbers on the denominator, which gives us really big numbers on the end. And so some of those improvement fees, you'll see, the justified portion of it has gone up quite a bit since last year because the anticipated growth rate reduced so much. And then once we've got those two numbers, we can add them together, and that's what you are justified in charging. You legally cannot charge more than that, but you don't have to charge that. You can charge less. We've always charged less than what we've been able to justify. So that's kind of the basic background. But what we are proposing is an increase in our collection system from $900 to $1,000 and no changes anywhere else. We do, for Shady Cove for the treatment, we ham this. we charge the same rate that the regional treatment charges, just to be consistent across our whole district. We could charge much more than that, but we choose not to, or we have chosen not to in the past.
But it doesn't hurt us any by doing that.
No, and I make permits in Shady Cove every year, 3 or 4. I mean, it's not very much. So that's how we do the SDCs. I did include Gold Hill on the resolution. The agreement we have with Gold Hill is that we would maintain their current rates until we update their SDC methodology. We haven't done that yet. I've got it all written up, but we have to do 90 days notice, public hearing and stuff like that. So the amount that they have set, we're maintaining that. And so, they would pay the $1,000 for the collection system and $700 for their treatment system is what they charge right now. But I do want to talk a little bit about, moving forward with updating Gold Hill, because the methodology we have approved requires us to recalculate every year, which is, I'm fine with that. I think that's kind of a better approach. What most places do is they set it once and they say, we'll adjust it every year based on engineer news records, construction costs. They never look at it. Which is perfectly fine. I mean, then, then you don't have to go through this exercise every year. You just automatically adjust it. And I guess the question is, what would your preference be? Is to continue the way we're doing it, or to simplify it quite a bit, just put an index on it?
Personally, I like the way we're doing it. I like looking at it every year because things change or could change, even though they haven't changed, things can change. We saw growth changes in 2008, 2009. Yeah, we've seen different things. So I think it is a smarter thing to look at things every year.
Yeah. Okay, then I will continue.
So Carl, do you mind if I ask Carl?
No, go ahead.
The first set of numbers, for the existing infrastructure, would you give me that one more time? The 44.
The 44, yeah, so in our collection system, we have spent just under $44 million.
Okay.
And that's over the life of DCSA or USS.
And is that calculated at our internal rate or our external rate?
That is what the project closeout cost is. So
To what cost to us?
what it costs to us, what we actually spent on it.
Okay.
And so
We're setting SDCs based on our cost, not an
Correct,
external rate.
right, and that doesn't include, it doesn't include any facilities that are donated, which, the bulk of our collection system is donated. If someone does a subdivision, they upgrade, they build the system, and it's donated. None of that factors into this. It's what we've actually spent. So, when we do a big rehab project, we do a big expansion project, anything like that, That's where that 44 million is.
That seems like a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
And then the second one, you base it on capacity created, so give me a real life so I'll understand that.
Okay, so,
This is my first year doing this
okay, so-
part, I
so-
wasn't
so-
elected for the last one.
Antelope Road, we're getting ready to do Antelope Road, it's gonna cost us $6+ million. We are taking a 21-inch pipe and we're increasing it to a 24-inch pipe. So we're adding 40% more capacity. Just, I mean, I'm pulling these numbers out, but it, you know, whatever it happens to be.
All right,
So that $6 million, 40% of that cost is dedicated specifically for future growth for increasing capacity. So we take 40% of 6 million, $2.4 million, and then that would be the value of our surplus capacity that we're building. And then we divide that by how much growth we anticipate within the timeframe. So that's where, you know, the improvement fee portion of it comes from. So you take all the projects that we have, every single project we have in our capital improvement plan, we have determined what the surplus capacity is of each of those projects. We've got the cost estimates, so we get our value of surplus capacity. And I'll just go back to collection system. You can see we have $18 million of improvements in our capital improvement plan. But only 3.3 million of that is considered surplus capacity. So a lot of that's just rehabilitation that we're doing. And then we're anticipating over 10 years, 1,200 new, which gives us an improvement fee of $26. So we could be legally justified if we went and said we want our collection system SDC to be $3,700. And we're not, we're saying we want to do 1,000, but you know, we could argue and justify a much higher rate.
so if I want to build a five-house subdivision, little one, how much would I be paying? I paid 1,000 and 26 for each house?
You would pay you would pay the collection system SDC, which we're approving right now, $1,000 for each house. But you would also pay the regional treatment, depending on where you were.
Okay.
And add an interceptor SDC.
Okay.
So, you know, for us, the total is, well, typically,
So do we pay, do I pay the 1,000 for what's already been built? And then the 2,600 for the excess, my share of the excess
No.
capacity built to accommodate my future growth?
no,
I get the 2,600 for free.
you kind of get it for free. I mean, you get, so we're assessing 1,000, you know, on a collection system, we could assess 3,700. We're proposing it to be 1,000. So we're not collecting the full amount that could be justified. So if you go and build a 5-unit subdivision, you would pay $1,000 and the collection system STC for each of those. You would also pay for the interceptor STC, which is the $500 per house. And you would also pay the treatment STC, which is just under $2,000 per house. So all total, all combined, that's what you would have to pay to connect to the sewer.
But it seems like we're not charging developers for their incremental portion of what we are doing to improve
Yeah,
capacity.
probably not.
So for example, let's take an example I can relate to. Last year, we approved Centennial on our planning. It's a whopper.
Yes.
So I know you've got it all sussed out already in your mind, but there's gonna have to be really big pipes put in for 1,500 new houses and
Yes.
2,500 new apartment units, where there's pretty much nothing right now.
Right.
So the developer's building the pipes, correct? But they're
Yes.
tapping into us, and we have to increase capacity for 4,000 households.
Right. So in
Thanks for that.
that particular one,
Because I promise you, the manor can afford it.
yeah. So when they go to build that, they're going to have to come under the freeway or do something to get to the pipe. They're going to be tapping into the interceptor. They're really not going to be hitting capacity. I mean, they have to build everything to get their service.
Okay.
And they'll be going in, almost directly into the interceptor.
But they'll be consuming
Yeah.
excess quantity that we've already built
Yes,
and paid for
yes.
and not paying for it. Because we don't
Probably not paying
charge the
Yeah,
$2,600.
probably not paying the full amount for it, yes.
But then,
Yeah.
but when they build all that, they have to dedicate it to us.
Right.
Easement for the land and ownership of the pipes, so we get all that for free.
We get all that infrastructure.
So it's a bad example, kind of,
Yes,
because we are getting something nice.
we are, yeah, I mean,
Well, I don't want to swim in it, but it's.
yeah, yeah, I mean, the infrastructure that's donated is, even though it's considered an asset, it's
It's
a
actually-
liability, I mean,
Right.
because it costs us money to maintain it. But it's an asset in the sense that we're able to charge people to use it.
We put that much more pipe on our books.
Well, I get that, but what if, okay, it's a bad example because it's going straight to the intersection.
Well, here's a
Let's
better
say-
one.
a better one was going into one of our bigger lines. let's say.
So South Stage and Kings Highway.
Yes,
Yes, there's a proposal for. how
I
many
might
units?
live 8 houses from there, but
Yeah, a lot of houses there.
250.
we just approved part 2 across on the east side.
Right, so that ties into the collection system, and there's a good chance that that's going to push us into some capacity issues, and we might have to go in and do some upgrades.
So we would go in and do upgrades, and who pays for that?
So we would pay for the upgrade, so they're putting in 250 units, they're
Just
just
on one of those properties.
Well,
That's just one property, but
the one on the west side of King and South Stage, when they start building apartments, should be about that. The one on the east is, I think, 100. They're only building
yeah.
townhouses or something. I can't remember how many total, but it's a bunch.
So under the rate structure we're proposing, that particular development they would pay us $250,000 in SDCs and collection system SDCs for that. Will that tip us over the edge where we need to do improvements? I don't know, but it gets us closer. And so eventually you get enough of those in, and we actually have to go in, and we might have to spend a couple $1 million on upgrades for that. And does what we're collecting on them cover the full cost on it? Probably not. But it is, as a regional system, you're collecting a fee from places that are never going to, where you've got plenty of capacity, you're never going to have to do any upgrades to support them also. So there is kind of a collective effort on that.
Can there be any? We can have flat fee SDCs, I get that, 1,000. Can we have some sort of a formula or adjustment for the increased capacity requirement? Can we estimate whether there's going to be a need for increased capacity or not? I mean, the math may be hard, but I don't love spending $2 million free dollars on
Right.
someone who's already going to make a really lot of money on the
Yeah.
development.
I don't think you can do that. You can localize the SDC. I mean, we have an SDC for the White City truck that only applies to people in White City.
Okay.
Because we built that truck and it serves them. And then same with Eagle Point. Because none of them are part of the intersection. So you can, I mean, it's not quite a local improvement district, but you can adopt a methodology that would assess SDCs for a specific project, for instance.
If we made it system-wide, I get it. People would be paying an improvement SDC for improvements that would never happen, subsidize
Yeah,
improvements that have to happen, but they're paying less because it's spread out across the system. That doesn't seem good.
it
But I
doesn't.
don't know how to fix it. Well, no, I mean, your South Stage example is right.
Yeah,
And I mean, they're not losing money on that project.
right. And honestly,
And we shouldn't either, is my point.
years ago, when they first came out with the 2050 plan, or whatever they called it, where they identified all these urban growth expansion areas. And we did a pretty deep analysis of our city, we modeled everything, and we had no capacity issues anywhere under that plan. They're pushing densities a lot farther now than what they would have been. And so there's a chance that we might,
That's the CFA
yeah.
part.
And that's, so the South Stage area is really the only place that I'm aware of that might push our capacity. We've done a really, really, really good job of maintaining our capacity. I mean, we've done a lot of improvements, and we've never come close to having capacity issues because we've been way ahead of it. This is kind of a potential risk in the future because the densities are much more than what we originally planned for.
Well, that we approved
So I guess what I'm
west of
saying is,
Columbus on South Stage, 2 more big projects as well.
yeah,
They're gonna be mostly houses, but a couple multifamily. So it's that whole South Stage corridor is gonna be booming.
right. So, I mean, how many permits did we issue last year? I don't know, whatever, it was,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
500, 700 permits, something like that. None of that growth put us anywhere where we're having to be concerned about capacity, or we're doing capacity upgrades specifically to any kind of development. So, you know, it is more of I guess, a holistic approach that, you know, the district is the district and we all share in the, you know, good times and bad times, I guess. So, you know, people in Eagle Point are paying the same SDC as someone in, you know, South Medford, even if South Medford just happens to be where we're gonna be putting a lot of attention now. You know, and it's like, you look at, you know, where we've done projects. And, you know, after Eagle Point Annex, we did a lot of projects in Eagle Point. After Phoenix Annex, we did a lot of projects, and that's kind of been our MO, you know, Central Point safe kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if you look at it just, you know, real isolated like that, you might look, well, Central Point's getting this huge advantage because they're getting all these projects done, they're getting all these improvements, where no one else is getting them. But then you go a couple years later, well, Eagle Point's getting this advantage. Well, soon it's gonna be South Medford's turn.
Okay.
I think you just need to look at it like it's a social sanitary sewer system.
Holistically. But I,
Healthcare plan. You're in a group.
Yeah, well, yeah, right.
sure,
That is the advantage of regionalization though, is that,
regionalization, but I think the discussion is a good one because
Yeah.
the emphasis to put in more housing, especially multi-family and
Mhm.
apartments and Windsor, and that's in certain areas, it will push our capacities, but not just for us, but for
Yeah.
everything.
and, you know, that is, you know, the philosophy of some places use is that they should charge the highest STCs they can justify. And for the reasons that you're talking about, John, is that, you know, if you're not charging that, then you're giving a benefit to the developing class and at the expense of everybody else. And, you know, that's it's legitimate.
But- It is legit on one side, but it also hinders a certain amount of development, especially when you're talking about affordable.
Yeah,
There's a lot of subsidies for affordable. They
Yeah.
get away with a whole lot of corner cutting.
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
Commission, they're fine.
I
Anyway,
agree, yeah,
we kind of need to move on,
okay.
unless there's more questions specifically.
Well,
I
I,
was starting to get us in the weeds.
well, I mean, I understand it, I don't know,
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know,
so I'll just leave it at that.
that is
We're done.
something, you know, that's your discretion as the board. I mean, if you think it's more appropriate to charge a higher SDC, you're close, you know, more than what you're close to where we can justify it.
John's bringing up a good point, and to me, I always liked the way we were doing, but now I'm seeing how things are coming down from up above and how it's changing my perspective on things a little bit, because it is gonna cost us more money.
I mean, the new $300 million Medford plan is gonna hammer us in the next few years. I know development is one thing and ongoing costs are a different thing. But I think at some point charity begins at home.
Yeah, so you can change any of these numbers if you want to, I guess,
I'm concerned about
Yeah.
figuring out what to do when we have to increase capacity and how I understand we spread that amount among everyone.
yeah,
And you may have to pay $1,000 per house SDC and get exactly no change in anything for essentially nothing for your 1,000 except you get to plug in.
right,
I mean, no increase in capacity, no real cost to us. You
Right.
bill it yourself and you give it to us and you get nothing. I get that. And we also have areas where you build it yourself, you give us $250,000 and we have to pay $2 million to make your stuff work.
right.
So, and I understand using the stuff where the money from the people who aren't really costing us anything, but they're giving us $1,000 anyway to subsidize that. I get that. I guess we just have to ask ourselves, are the people that aren't costing us money giving enough money to compensate for the 2 million we'll have to spend? And is given that size of expense fair to spread out, given that they're getting a huge benefit for it? Because I mean, those townhouses are hard 350, 400 a piece. And that, which is preposterous, I think, but they'll get it all day long and twice on Sunday. The parking it's gonna be very interesting. I don't know how you build a development when South Stage is like this and your water isn't going to go up, but that's a different story. And I've been there 24 years and I've certainly seen hundreds of houses built in Southwest for sure. And there's going to be hundreds more. And there's no way our South Stage piping is gonna handle all of what's gonna be, you know better than I do, but it seems to me like that would be impressive if we have that much spare room. That's not gonna be free either. That's all I'm thinking about. I don't wanna subsidize someone who's making a ton of money.
Right. I agree with that.
They're all
I
great
think-
points, great points.
Yeah,
How do you
it
do the
is,
math?
it's a really good point. Especially when you pick
Yeah.
that type of development.
Right, so, I mean, so the proposal that we had, currently that rate is $900 and grows an increase to 1,000. Like I said, we could justify it going over 3,000 if we wanted to.
So but then we charge everyone and they would,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
And at some point for the smaller developments, that would be
right,
pretty
yeah,
good.
yeah,
I mean, I own a piece of land that I could put 4 on, and I wouldn't enjoy paying 3,000 times 4,
Right.
and not really increasing capacity.
right,
But no, I don't love us, first of all, charging it out at cost, which we seem to do, at least with respect to labor, and the $44 million is calculated at cost. And then not charging for anticipated improvements to the people who made a ton of money making it needful. I mean, we've all been to, you and I drove past South Stage in King, you know where I live,
Yeah.
right now but that's going to end in the next 2 years.
yes,
The whole South Stage, all the way from Griffin Creek to King,
that's all.
forget about the rural zero
Yeah,
zoning, it's all gonna go MFR 4, or 6, or 10, or commercial.
What's the city of Medford's collection system, SDC?
That is a great question.
last I looked, it was around 1,000, between 1,000 and 1,200, I don't remember.
Wow.
I mean, it's similar, I think it might be a little higher than ours.
But how much at risk are they of having to build excess capacity? And the reason I,
Well, way more than, yeah. I used to manage the system.
well, let me ask you this though, the part that we have is the outskirts where the building is happening.
Right,
Where Centennial is, where South
Yeah.
Stage is. What Medford kept is the profitable part that's already built.
right, but I think they have some existing capacity issues that need to be addressed though.
Well, shame on them for not planning ahead and not having Carl to run the place.
They had me running the place.
You guys tried to use the word for the city.
Double shame for having Roger do it.
That's right.
There's a reason why we're under shelter.
Well, I at least have a point. I'm not sure where everyone wants to take it.
No, I agree, and I understand the fuss, like I said, a lot of cities do that, they want to charge the highest rate that they could justify.
Well, it's
for
not-
whatever reason, but,
It's not about that. It's just I don't want to give people
yeah,
free things when they're already doing nicely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's $2 million is
Yeah.
five residences.
yeah.
They'll be fine.
I mean, traditionally, the approach that we've taken is pretty easy on developers. Just, trying to smooth it, with the philosophy that, the growth is better for the valley and for us in the long run than trying to, get more money from them at the beginning. But like I said, I mean, our rates across the board, STCs and rates are all very, very low compared to almost everywhere else.
Well, I'm not advocating cranking it unnecessarily. I just don't
Yeah.
want to subsidize unnecessarily either, because then all the other people that pay rates end up
Yes.
subsidizing.
Yes,
Isn't fair.
Right.
Or the taxpayer does if we get a forgivable loan or something like that to do the project.
So I can come back with more information, but I'm not sure what information.
At this point, could we pass this resolution
Yes,
pending a evaluation in 4 months?
okay,
Could we do that?
we could, yeah.
What kind of evaluation?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's
it's
asking us, what are we asking to look for?
Well, I just think, okay, I'm sorry, interrupt.
No,
Please
go ahead.
continue. Oh, I just think we've identified, I'm totally cool with what Mike suggested. I trust you completely, Carl. I just, wanted to understand it better as much as anything, because this actually is my first time doing this part of it, because I was
Right.
elected last May. I didn't do this one. So, I think we should at least learn a little bit more
Okay.
about it, don't you think? What's the harm in that?
I mean, it sounds like what we want to look at is the potential inequities in the way the SDC is calculated.
Right,
Or not calculated, but implemented. And I can do that. I can look at like who's paying what it's actually being used for once we get it. What kind of liabilities or requirements are being put on us by development.
Yeah. Perhaps the way we could do that, Carl, is have, for developments of 10 units or more. So 10 apartments or 10 houses or 5 townhouses, which are 2.
Right.
Or 20 or
Yeah.
whatever number you want. They would have an additional capacity improvement charge because they are of a size that they really could have an impact somewhere down the
Yeah.
line. I think if you make a cutoff there, it's a principled way to do it. It's not a geographically dependent way of doing it. You're not hurting particular areas over others. You're just saying, you're gonna have an extra big trough, and we're gonna have to make bigger pipes. You should kick in a little bit more than the people who are never, ever, ever, ever going to change the size of our pipes. I don't think that's unreasonable, and it's a principled way to look at it. Just throwing it out there.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea, because we're going from ham now to beyond beef or whatever that.
We're cooking an Impossible Burger right
That's what, I couldn't remember that, but yeah. So it's a good discussion in this, because
Okay.
that's what we're gonna be looking at down the road.
You're gonna give me a couple months to do that,
now. Oh, totally.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but I think we should think about it.
No, I agree. Yeah, and I can certainly, do that. I guess on another question, do you want me to go ahead? Like I said, I've got the methodology for Gold Hill written up, and it's a 90-day public notice. Let me go ahead and get that process started so we can go with the same system.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
I will do that.
I mean, Gold Hill's not gonna have anything like the development that Cedar Point and Bedford will have.
It
But
should
Ward-
have.
Central Point's planning 3,000 units.
That's a lot. Ward 2 is in Medford, Winford City Council, is exploding. So we're just building like crazy.
My neighborhood is
We've-
gonna do that.
I approve, huh?
Not as bad as that, but my area rather.
Is it? I don't go up to Central Point so much, so I don't see it, but I believe you.
Well, yeah,
Strong.
but we need it. It is what it is. Okay, so any more questions?
No,
Oh,
thank you for
good.
your time on that.
Okay, resolution 2412, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2412, setting rates for system development pending further evaluation within 6 months. Is that fair?
Well, you wanna pass this one?
No,
Yeah,
that's
we just
that's
wanna
a-
pass
they're
this.
two separate directives.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I will make a resolution to setting rates for system development charges. I approve.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, roll call please.
Anderson,
Yes.
Roger Tom,
Yes.
Mike Parsons,
Yes.
John Quinn.
Yes.
Now, do we need a motion, or we just have an understanding that,
Yeah.
that Carl's gonna look into that? Okay,
That works.
we're cool.
I've got that.
Okay.
He made a note.
The next one is.
Next one is easy peasy. This is the loan that we're getting from Infrastructure Finance Authority to pay for the design work for Gold Hill Anytime. We need to pass the resolution. We agree to accept the loan.
Okay, any questions? I need a motion, please. Any questions?
You know, they do that on planning too. And is that 2412?
It's 2413.
1313.
Sure, I'll move for approval of resolution 2413, authorizing a loan from the water fund as presented.
I'll second.
Go ahead, go ahead. Second.
Moved by Roger, seconded by John. Roll call, please.
Harrison,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Mike Parsons.
Yes.
John Quinn.
2414 is a supplemental budget. This is because we typically collect septic fees at lagoons, and that goes into Fund 70, which is our lagoons. And the surplus that we have from there, we put into our capital reserve, which is Fund 55. And we just had a whole lot more septic we budgeted for, so this is a good thing. We're just putting more money into Fund 55 than what we anticipated last year's budget.
For some reason, I got confused when I read this. I don't know why. It makes sense with, but I knew what we were doing, but I got confused.
Yeah, because all the septic goes into the Fund 70, and then we move it to 55, but
Yeah.
keep the balance in the lagoon fund at 100,000.
Yeah. I
But
knew
because we
that.
receive more septic and anything over 10% of budget, it's 10% over budget, we have to do a supplemental budget. I can't just do a transfer
Okay,
resolution.
because we talked about it before a little bit, that it was gonna go that way.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Motion, please. 2414.
I move to adopt resolution 2414 as written.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Harrison,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Mike Parsons.
Yes.
John Quinn.
Okay, thank you. 2415.
I think I'm gonna let Brenda explain this one better. This is.
Oh, this is just, we do this frequently the last couple of months of the fiscal year. Any expenses that we go over budget, but less than 10%. We just transfer using the contingency fund. That's why there's a contingency amount in each fund. So here in Fund 1, transfer, in the transfer section, we went over 140,000. So I'm moving that out of contingency into the transfer to make the budget balance. As well as Fund 60, we spent more in the capital outlay by 50,000 from budget. So I gotta move some contingency money.
That one
It's following budget law.
that one I understood, but I don't know why the other one has to be done. Anyway, anybody have questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Well, we didn't get a motion or.
Huh?
I'll make a motion to
Alright,
approve
okay.
resolution 2415, a transfer of appropriations.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call now.
Harrison,
Yes.
Rutherford.
Yes.
Mike Parsons.
Yes.
John Quinn.
Yes.
The next one is the board policies. And I made two changes to this. One is in section 6, under government ethics. There's a list of financial benefits that can be received. And we talked about this already, and I just added an item under B, that meals coincident with official board meetings are considered accepted. In case there's any question about that. And then the other change relates to our annual board dinner, which is under section 8, which is reimbursement of board member expenses. So under statute, you're entitled to get $50 for every board meeting you attend. And years ago, for whatever reason,
Damn.
the board decided that they would only do that for the first 2 meetings of the year. And so board members since then, they get $100. And that has been used in part to cover costs of our annual board dinner. But what I'm putting in here is taking that out of it. So basically, you would get your $50 per meeting for your first 2 meetings. And I added section D, which says that that RDSS will host an annual dinner for board members for for board members and select guests. I just left it at that, so that gives you discretion to, if you want to invite a whole bunch, however you want to do it. It gives you some discretion, but it does include that as part of your compensation as a board member.
Okay, we talked about that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Cool. Anybody have any
That's it.
questions?
I'll move for approval of resolution 2416, board of directors policies is presented.
I'll say.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Peterson,
Yes.
Roger John,
Yes.
Mike Parsons.
Yes.
Okay. Next is resolution 2417.
This is our personal services contracts. We have a variety of contracts with service providers, landscapers, our janitors, our auditors, a whole bunch of them. And so this just every year, we just go through and make sure that the agreements are still valid, that we're still using them. And list it.
Okay, anyone have any questions on this one? Motion, please. Good question.
Needhammer surveying appears before us fairly often in the planning commission. I'm loath to not abstain, given that this would give them a financial benefit. Just on the one board, I'm voting to give them money. On the other board, I'm judging whether their work is acceptable and their plan should be approved. I'm going to abstain, Carl. Is that all right?
I think, we're
I
fine.
can't think of a-
I mean, I don't think that would qualify as a conflict, but,
I don't think it is either, and it doesn't break quorum.
Yeah.
It's just, you don't really need my vote anyway.
Right.
I'm going to abstain. Sorry. Fair enough.
Okay, so I need a motion.
I'll move for approval of resolution 2417, renewal of personal services contracts.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Peterson,
Yes.
Roger John,
Yes.
Mike Parsons.
Yes.
Hey. Okay.
Nick, project updates.
All right, I will go fast.
Appreciate that.
Elk Road, no movement, Shady Cove Pump Station 2, we're waiting on equipment. About Highway 99, Rose to Glenwood, nothing going on with the sewer. We did start the stormwater facility, which looks amazing. They did all machine control grading and everything. We're gonna get some aerial photos of it.
Oh, wow.
It's, giant hair. It's gonna look cool. So I was pretty excited when I saw the pictures. Christian Avenue sewer, that's a real tiny little job in Talent. Creating a 6-inch concrete pipe to get into PVC. It's right by the school, so we're waiting to do it during the summer. Ashland Force Main, or Ashland Pump Station number 2 Force Main, all we have left on that is the trench paving. And which is, I believe, scheduled. I can't off the top of my head tell you when that's actually be. The fiscal year 24 CIP projects. This project's done. You can see the final cost there. There was a very slight overrun. I believe we had the contractor coming in to do a small pipe patch on a different pipe. Just adjust the contract to pay for the extra footage. Echo Wave Pump Station Rehab. This is a new one. It hasn't been on this report. So pump station's got terrible infiltration. It's in a, TJ calls it a swamp. It's basically adjacent to a wetland, and it just needs to be replaced. We're gonna give it the standard, fiberglass insert with the new flight pumps and all the bells and whistles treatment. That one will probably go next spring, I believe. I'm anticipating. The J360, this is also a new one. This is another one that TJ dreamt up. I may have had this on there on the last one. I can't remember. I do a lot of these little board or project reports. This one, what do we have? 7 separate pump stations that need upgrades. We have a specific standard we've kind of organically created over time. That's flight pumps, flight controls, VFDs, variable frequency drives, a flow monitor. If you have a variable frequency drive on your post station, DEQ requires you have a flow monitor, so we upgrade those. And then we have surge protection, which goes along with some of those other electrical components. So these pump stations, a lot of them were upgraded with flight pumps before my time here.
And Flight is a brand.
Yes, correct, flight. And they didn't have all the other drives and bells and whistles, so we're just now retroactively putting that stuff in, so they're all standard. So all of our operators on call will open up the cabinet and it looks like all the other ones we see on the post stations. JA 362 4th Street. This is a new one. This is one of the projects, a fairly substantial one. This is in Gold Hill. This project was identified pretty quickly once we started really digging into the Gold Hill system. You can see the exhibit there. At the end of the day, there's, I think, 5 separate crossings on the railroad. These 4 in particular we're focusing on. The one on Gustav to the east and the one off south of Norris Street to the west. Those are both 8-inch pipes. All of them are garbage. So,
Okay,
the other 2 in the middle are 6-inch pipes, and they are really, really bad. They're sagged. They're underneath the railroad. There's a communication conduit through there, fiber conduit, the intercontinental connector or something like that. I've never actually dealt with it myself, but other engineers in the valley. Like, it's like this myth and legend of this terrible thing you don't ever want to run into, and it does, in fact, run along the railroad here. And you have to have, I believe it's something crazy, like $30,000 a minute if you hit the thing. It's all the fear mongering is crazy. My brother told me about it. Scott Pingle, who used to be the city engineer for Gold Hill, told me about it. He's the one to let me know that it is going to go along with this corridor.
is it well documented where it's at?
Nope, not even a little bit.
Isn't that just like what we had at crossings in Central Point?
Very likely, yes.
So they shut that thing down for like 2.5 months because they couldn't find the intercontinental connection line.
That's
They couldn't even find it to fix it.
Yeah, and they don't know where it is.
Exactly.
They don't, and they have to have a monitor out there who's like, I don't know what they're gonna do. Like, I don't know where it is, down there somewhere, good luck. So at the end of the day, the decision, once we looked at this, we do have the CIPP technology that we can use. We can go down, we can line these pipes across the railroad or the western portion and realign the rest of the system and abandon the 2 in the center, which we don't want to line a 6-inch pipe because, then you're making it a 5-inch pipe. So at the end of the day, the plan is to abandon these 2 in the center, run the sewer either way down and just turn 4 crossings into 2. Sorry about all the narrative, but
That's okay. It helps us to understand what you're up against.
yeah, this one's tricky. The other thing that's notable about this project is very deep on a couple of these humps. If you guys look at that exhibit there, you can see the profile. It's plus or minus 20 feet deep, but we've contacted Shannon and Wilson, who are doing they're the sub of Tetra Tech, and they're doing the boring along the corridor for the force main for the regional intertie, and they're going to come in here and do some subsurface boring just to make sure we don't have any rock, which could really cost us a lot of money if the contractor gets that. So our guys went out and dug, they went 13, 14 feet deep. That's about all they could reach. And they didn't run into any, which is good, but we're gonna have them go out there to do a couple potholes just to make sure. So I'm sure we'll talk about this one a bunch in the future.
Yeah.
But it's a good one. Doesn't increase capacity, unfortunately. But we don't need it. An 8-inch pipe by itself can serve 600 or 800 homes. So we don't have that in Gold Hill. What else we got? Sorry, we got a bunch of them. Common stormwater facility in Talent. That one is finally under construction. We had an unlocated power line, which our crews had to go out and relocate the conduit. And PP&L should pull the wires once we get the new easement, which it wasn't in easement and it wasn't located, and so now we've got it relocated. we partnered with them just to get it out of the way, because it's a minor cost to us, so. Just get it going. The one was from our facility, already mentioned, and the treatment plant upgrades. The UV plans are well along at this point. We're hoping they'll be well along much earlier, but it's looking pretty cool. I think we're gonna explore looking at building a pole,
Roof on it.
pole barn, basically, over the top of the whole thing. I'm sure our operators get these stuff about, they got a place to chill out under the rain and do projects. I like this stuff. Sorry. That's it. That's all I got.
Any questions for Nick? Okay, TJ, it's your turn.
Collection systems, good. We flushed and TV'd, we're hitting our goals at 12 miles and 10 miles. We replaced the roof at the dump pump station. It's been leaking and it got a little worse over the last year, so Fontana Roofing did that. We also got a price from, I think it was Renaissance. So that's done. Ashland 2, we got the telemetry and mag meter installed. We're recording about 46 to 50,000 gallons a day. So we weren't able to capture that before, so we're capturing that now. Ashland 2 will get the VFD upgrade and that Nick talked about. And then after that, those VFDs will be able to control the output voltage. So if we do like solar panels or something out there, if voltage goes up and down, at least the motors are getting consistent power. So that's one of the benefits. Shady Cove, they're just finalizing a punch list, just to get a couple of things adjusted and some training on the SCADA. That should be done. Nothing in Gold Hill. The lagoons took 280,000 gallons of septic fog. Different. We have an electric truck parked out here. The white one. It's unlocked. If you want to look at it, we got 3 of them in operation. They're doing good. The TV truck stopped by last Thursday on its way back up to Portland to have some final adjustments made.
Stop by, say hi.
It made
Yep.
a brief
It did.
visit.
It did. Stopped by for about 4 hours just to find.
It's like the kid going away to college.
Yep. So that'll be done, be completed. We completed interviews for the position in the back. One of the new hires got a CDL last couple of weeks, the other guy that started in April, working on it. And I didn't mention it, but we had our safety committee yesterday and we talked about heat safety. And then we're gonna be doing new members for the next year. Cool. Any questions on that?
I do have something to mention. I apologize. TJ's already a better manager than me. 'Cause
Yeah.
I failed to mention a pretty big deal. Dashin, one of our engineering techs, just passed his professional engineering license.
Oh, that's cool.
He's in the, I think we're the engineer heavy, this most engineers.
You got 3 licensed engineers.
Yeah.
As long as they,
That's not a problem.
yeah, as long as their heads can still come through the door, it's fine.
Oh. Yeah.
Or
This-
fix the manholes, you know?
Yeah, this
No, they
one,
don't go in manholes.
this one you don't have to worry about there.
You need
That's
a couple days of testing, it's a pretty long test, isn't it?
Yes, well, this one's 8 hours.
Okay, that's
So,
fine.
in Oregon, it's 8 hours, and they got it so easy, he scrolls down to RCC and sits down for a while in front of a computer and checks out. Carl, us
One day, but a full day.
old guys had to go back down to Sacramento or up to San.
Yeah, my bar exam was in Sanskrit, so don't.
So anyways, we're pretty proud of this.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. Anytime you do stuff like that, that's an accomplishment.
Yes, sorry, I just had to mention that. I just
No,
didn't mind.
Exciting.
Very good, very good. All right, anything else?
Okay, my stuff. This is we already talked about on our staffing. TJ mentioned that we filled the operator vacancy. He's gonna start on Monday. We filled our vacancy up front and Kathy started yesterday. And we filled our vacancy as a stormwater tech and Tiffany is going to start next month. She's coming from out of state, so. We'll be fully staffed again. See how long. Nonetheless,
It's good to hear.
and one brag I have on that is through that whole process, I think we interviewed probably 16 or 17 people. 5 of them applied because they already have friends that work here who told them it was a great place to work. So
Awesome.
good to hear.
Yeah, that is.
2 of them we
awesome.
hired. So that's good. All the ordinances and the resolutions we talked about. Shady Cove, we met with the new city manager and Brenda's been guiding her through submitting payments to us and doing certifications. I did get the deed signed and recorded for the treatment plant property. I do not have the amendment signed for, that would require them to do annual certifications. Still working on that. It's written, they have it, just waiting on them, so we haven't given them a backer yet. And since we're talking about cities, I guess, Gold Hill, they had a budget meeting last week. They approved their budget. Their budget includes a transfer to us of about $240,000, so they found the money.
Good job, money.
So that should be coming fairly soon. I did call Lily this morning. They were supposed to have a council meeting last night to actually approve the budget, but I don't know if that happened. It's not on your calendar, so. But that should be sorted out there. The billing audit, I've talked to both Eagle Point and Jacksonville about, how they do their delinquencies and stuff like that. Aaron at Eagle Point was very excited. He says, I really like these questions because it lets us show off what we're doing. So he was going to give us something. Jacksonville had a different response. I think I made Jeff Alvis mad. But they gave us the information, showed us their process and everything. But the end of the conversation is like, well, why don't you guys just take over the billing? So we're in the process of updating agreements on that. So we'll take over the billing in Jacksonville, which is kind of what we've been wanting for a long time. So that'll be good. Funding for the intertie, we talked about that. The Business Oregon IFA loan, we'll get that moving, and the other stuff is all still in progress. We talked about Gold Hill, just because we're waiting on getting that final release of payments. We don't know yet if they're going to be able to transfer the rural development loan. We still don't know if they're going to allow us to transfer that to us. The IFA loan that they have, I've got all the paperwork to transfer that to us. When I talked to Joe Kellerman, our attorney, he said, don't sign that until they give you the money they owe you. So I'm waiting for them to give us the money they owe us before we sign it. But that's all ready to go also. So that's it. I don't know if we want to postpone our executive session. It's been a long day.
Roger? Okay. You're the fellow that's working, so.
Well, yeah, I'm not working today. It's Juneteenth.
Oh, that's right. Okay, we can do it then. And then it's done. I just mindful of Roger's time and John's time. I mean,
I'm not working today.
I'm off to both when.
I don't go to work until 3, so I'm
Okay.
okay. So, yeah, we have to pay the bills, guys. So I have a motion for that.
Motion to pay the bills.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Peterson,
Yes.
Weatherford,
Yes.
Parsons,
Yes.
Oakland.
Okay, now, we're going to read the script for going into executive session.
You want this back?
Hold it.
You want this back?
I'll take it. I'll just put it in the truck. Please sign it. Oh,
Yeah.
Shouldn't order that yet.
Oh, that's true. I'm working on it. Okay. RVSS Board of Directors will now meet in executive session to review and evaluate of an officer, employee, or staff member. If that a person does not request an open meeting, this reason for executive session may not be used to do general evaluation. Oh, I'm sorry.
Need some
You
more?
okay?
Yeah. Sure. I'm allergic to the stuff.
Executive sessions.
Anyway, yeah. anyone to do general evaluation of the agency goal, objective, or operation, or any directive to personnel concerning those subjects. And it's ORS 192.6602 I and 192.6608. Representatives of the newspaper, media, and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any deliberations during the executive session except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decisions may be made in executive session. The end of the executive session will return to open session and welcome audience back to the room. So we are now in executive